Welcome to the February 2024 energy update, the second spontaneous one we're doing. Really loving how this is working, seeing who shows up live. This will be uploaded to the Living Library membership for all of the members to access indefinitely. Oh man, I've been really excited about February energy. February energy to me has felt like things moving beneath the surface. Last month, we talked about, the January energy really felt like a lot of death, a lot of pruning, a lot of clearing space. And there were some themes of identity coming in last month about, which identities are kind of dying or stepping backwards, or which identities or personas are stepping forward, which ones want to lead the next phase of our life, phase of our journey, phase of our business, phase of our relationships. And so there was kind of this internal reconciliation that was happening, that has been happening recently, that a lot of people are still in. And when I tune into February, it feels like some of the pieces starting to crystallize, some different puzzle pieces starting to drop in. And an image that I've been getting a lot recently is kind of like puzzle pieces rearranging around us. And we go to take a step in a certain direction, but then we go to take the step and it's like, wait, that step isn't there anymore. Or I took the step, but it feels wobbly, or there's just this chaos. And the reasoning is because there's a lot rearranging underneath the surface and behind the scenes. So it might feel like, man, can I even trust my intuition right now? Like today it feels aligned and then tomorrow it doesn't. And yes, you can trust your intuition. And yes, we do want to take action on intuition. However, we also want to be aware that we are still in a season of rearranging. And what I'm really seeing and sensing for February is unexpected weavings. Unexpected weavings. So where different aspects of your life that might seem unrelated start to come together, or different connections, different friendships, maybe different social circles start to kind of unexpectedly overlap or come together. There's this energy of creativity. And when we think about creativity, and I don't know who to quote for this, but I think at one point I heard a definition of creativity. And creativity is related to connecting two seemingly unrelated things in a way that makes sense. It's connecting things that don't seem related. And I wish I knew who to quote for this definition, and I'm butchering it, but it was something related to that. And so there was a study done at one point asking, at which age do you think people are most creative? Think outside the box, connect seemingly unconnected things. At what age do you think people are most creative? I don't remember what my guess was, but the response was, I want to say like 2 to 5. Something like that, like little childhood. And anybody who has kids or is around kids witnesses this probably on a daily basis, because you see, especially if you give instructions or you say something and the child is like, I don't know, says something or defines something or brings something up, that's like, oh my gosh, well, that's not actually what I meant by that. But you're absolutely right. Like you just connected those two things that I didn't see. Kids are so creative and they're so open and receptive. And they're like sponges for the unseen. They're sponges for information. Their brains are super malleable. It's very easy to create neural pathways in the brain at a very young age because you're learning so much so quickly. And that's a big energy that I'm feeling right now in February, or whenever you intuitively tune into this energy will probably be alive for you, is this connecting of unexpected things. An example in my life right now is my background, I studied fashion design. I had a jewelry line at one point. I was a wardrobe stylist. This was feels like lifetimes ago. This was a very long time ago, college and post grad. And then I went into sales and finance and did that for like 16 years and then left to do this energetic mastery type of business for the last 5 years. So there's three very different versions of my life. And just now, all of them in kind of unexpected ways are starting to weave. I'm starting to do some behind the scenes, and I'm not like launching this publicly right now. I might at some point, but doing like image consulting through an energetic perspective and doing the bringing together like the embodiment and the energetics and the aspect of you that is birthing, that is here to carry through the next leg of your mission, and not only help you do that energetically and through the body and through the way that you speak, but also through the way that you dress and your personal style and your own personal image and personal brand. And that's not something that was ever on my radar before. But now that it's very naturally starting to weave, I'm like, duh, this has been here all along. I just didn't see it. And that I see happening for a lot of people right now, especially for people who have soul-led businesses or whether you're an entrepreneur or working in corporate is irrelevant, but for anyone who feels like they're here on purpose and you're here for a mission and you live a mission driven, a soul led life, this is coming up for a lot of us right now. I've seen it in clients, friends, and obviously myself, where things that we've mastered in the past that we might be like, old life, I don't know, is now kind of circling back in a new way. And we have the opportunity to look at it with fresh eyes because we are no longer the person that we were when we were doing this before, or when we were thinking about this before, or when we had these ideas before. For me personally, it's like a 10-year cycle is coming back. So I'm curious if other people are experiencing something similar, specifically with a 10-year cycle. Because 2024 is really an expansive year, y'all. We've talked about this. It's when so much can come into form physically, tangibly. And a lot of things are coming into form physically, tangibly that we've been seeding for years. So, of course, things that we were doing 2, 5, 10 years ago, it makes sense that some of the dots that we created in the past are now starting to weave together, kind of like a paint by numbers. That's the way I'm seeing it. It's like, I forgot that I even put that dot there. I forgot that I even seeded that. I forgot that I once loved doing this thing. And it's like throughout our life, and specifically I'm seeing over the past 10 years, we've done different things, we've started different things, we've had different hobbies or different ideas, different passions, and now they're starting to weave together, and we're starting to see how our creative pursuits, our like hobbies and passions, and like our soul driven mission, why we feel like we're here, kind of more the soul purpose energy, are all coming together. And it's bringing this energy of play. And like, what would most excite me to do right now? What would most excite me? Well, okay, there's a big like a mental shift of what we allow ourselves to prioritize and what we deem as worthy of our time, energy, and attention. And if I believe this came up in January as well, of really prioritizing or valuing beauty and creativity and passion and joy and all of those things. And that energy is really, really strong right now, because where we've done things in the past that felt like force, that felt like a grind, that felt like, listen, I don't want to do this, but I know that this is a part of my path right now. Like for me, that was finance. When I got into finance, I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing? I know this is not my end all be all, but I know that it is an important step in my soul path. And I knew that. But that energy is not the same energy as right now. If we've been on mission and following our intuitive guidance for a while now and following the callings of our soul for a while now, then likely we've already done and like hit those landmarks in the journey that required us to work outside of desire, outside of preference, outside of the way that we actually want to do things, because there were lessons we needed to learn, there was mastery we needed to pick up and embody, there were skills that we needed to integrate, there were different things we needed to do along the way that weren't necessarily fully guided by joy. Now this is a different energy. That we're moving into the Aquarian age. We are in a time of doing things differently, of blazing new trails. And the energy to really lead that is one of curiosity, passion, joy, and fulfillment. And a lot of that is going to come from creatively weaving things together that seem unrelated. Because that alone opens up the mind to see beyond what the way that we've perceived things in the past. Is this making sense? Let me look at these comments. Okay, you're feeling the 10-year cycle. Wow, I just connected the dots, closing a lot of chapters at this 10-year mark. I was professionally doing music at age 15. Now at 25, I'm returning to my music again, 10-year cycle. Okay, so a lot of us are feeling the 10-year cycle. Let's see, what else? So it's like separation is evaporating. The separation between business and hobby, the separation between personal and professional, the separation between different interests. It's like the separation is dissolving and it's all weaving together in a beautiful, unexpected way. So there's an encouragement to look at things creatively, let yourself ponder or even journal. Like, how could I more deeply integrate work and play? How could I more deeply integrate my social life and my professional life? How can I more deeply integrate things that used to light me up 5, 10, 20, 30 years ago? And how can I bring that into my life now? Because it just looks like there are hobbies, art forms, different methods of expression, whether that's writing or poetry or dance, or I'm hearing rap. Does anybody like beatbox or rap? It's like if you look at different ways to express what wants to be expressed in you. So if you've been writing poetry, maybe do stand up. Or if you've been, I don't know, playing an instrument, bring it into something else. If you've wanted to do something tactile, like take up sculpting or pottery, um, there's a there's new expressions that really want to come out, and this is really relevant with people's messaging as well, and the message that you're here to share, and the frequency that wants to come through you right now, whether you are a public speaker or a coach or a mentor or any type of service provider. If you're a marketing expert, there's other fields that this relates to. What other fields does this relate to? I see this in businesses that are opening up new either channels or like new product or service lines. There's an opportunity to truly step outside of the box in the way that you've done things before and what you actually want to bring forward now. It's like there's just this energy of newness beneath the surface. And when it comes up, it's kind of this aha, almost like duh moment. But we have to be available for that. We have to be available for we have to be available for increasing our risk tolerance for stepping beyond logic. To truly harness creativity, we have to increase our risk tolerance related to doing things differently. So I say this all the time, but if safety is tied to what is known, it's going to be really hard to do or create something new because it doesn't feel safe. And so right now, or well, for some people, there's a high level of risk. It feels risky to step outside of the box. It feels risky to do something different. It feels risky to shut down the ways that we've been making money in order to be in an unknown void space for a while and then open up something completely new, which is where I've been. And I've done this several times over at this point in my life and in my business of like, okay, this isn't working anymore. I'm going to shut it completely down. And I don't fully exactly know where I'm going next, but I do know that this needs to close down. I do know that I need to be in my own intimate energy to see what feels alive for me now. What feels inspiring to me now. What wakes me up in the morning and gets me excited about my day right now, because it's likely something different than it's been in the past. But if we stay plugged into ways that we've made money before, offerings that we've had before, friendships we've had before, even daily and weekly routines that we've had before, if we stay hooked into those, we're still energetically enmeshed with something that may have reached an expiration date. So there's a really strong potency in being in kind of a clean slate energy. And last month, I let go of my whole team to really be in an intimate relationship with just me and the soul of my business and do the back end of my business myself to really like put my hands in the weeds and see, okay, how do I actually want to do this? And I don't know that unless I'm intimate with my business. I don't know that unless I'm seeing every step of every process that needs to be done and saying, oh, well, that feels chaotic. Let's cut that completely. And so we have to be willing to clear the slate and see what unexpected things might want to resurface in our lives. All right, let's see what else. Okay, on a similar note, there's this integration of our prior selves. This might be a childhood aspect of yourself that was super, super confident, super confident. And then maybe over time, that confidence was dulled or diminished or something, or life happened and you're like, oh, I'm going to dull my shine, or oh, never mind. Like, I don't actually feel like I belong. Well, that little 5-year-old confident self is like, hey, let me back in here, actually. Like, can I walk into the room right now? And so there's like this integration that's happening with their past selves. And that also relates to what we said earlier about the 10-year cycle and past passions or mastery or different skill sets or different jobs or careers that we had, even different connections. There's people coming back into my life from 10 years ago, 10 years ago, that it seems so random, but there's a reintegration that can happen with who we are now. And that's really important right now, especially when it comes to collaboration and creative pursuits. And creative pursuits apply to everybody. It's not just for the artist. Creative pursuits, creativity is how creation happens. Creativity is how we were born. We are a manifestation of creation, of creativity. So creativity is the way that you create your life. It's how you move through your day. It's perspectives that you have. It's how you're able to see things and combine them and connect them. I'm hearing connector, like networking, but with a different energy than we might have associated with the word networking. I really resisted networking for a long time because I come from a long sales background. And I was like, oh, you couldn't pay me to go to a networking event. You can't pay me to do it. But it feels different now. And networking is not about, will you buy my product? Will you buy my service? Let me go make some sales. Networking is about creating connections. And it might not even have anything to do with you. But again, back to this seeing things and connecting dots unexpectedly, you might meet somebody who says something and you're like, oh my gosh, you have to meet this person. And then your job is done, but you played a role in the unseen weavings that are happening right now. And we all have to be available for that in order for everything to come into form, for the paint by numbers picture to become the full picture. It's like I have a few dots on the canvas. You have a few dots on the canvas. This person that you haven't met yet has a few dots on the canvas. And you might know someone who can connect your dot to that person's dot, and it creates a very significant piece of the painting. What else? February. Again, I'm hearing expect the unexpected. And wherever you are doing things right now, the same way that you were doing them a year ago or 10 years ago, take a good hard look at it with fresh eyes. Are you still doing it this way out of habit? Most likely, yes. Or are you still doing it this way because you've continuously reassessed what is in highest alignment for you and what feels best to you and what is most inspiring to you and what is most grounded for you and etc.? Have you consistently reassessed that? And this still right now is the best way for me to do it. 90% is a no. 90% is like, no, this is just a habit or a pattern, and it's not actually the most aligned way for me to do this anymore. This includes parenting. This includes conversations, like the way that you address certain topics. Interesting. I don't know what that relates to, but I'm sure over the next month that'll slap me in the face when I re-listen to this. There's certain, yeah, like ways that you approach certain conversations, ways that you approach boundaries, boundaries that you have. There we go. There are certain boundaries that it feels like that a lot of us are holding, that some of us are holding, that are no longer relevant. And what was once a healthy boundary is now a brick wall that's just blocking connection or flow or opportunities. And like, yeah, that boundary was really helpful at one point. Maybe while you needed space from something to tune into your own self and get clear within you. But now that boundary is a wall and like nothing can get through it. And I was going to give an example. Is that an aligned example to share? Okay. So this came up for me recently. I'm always double checking now before I share personal examples because I live on the internet forever. But it's a good way to paint pictures. So recently I was receiving energy work from a friend, close friend who I trust. And I was like, I feel like blocked in certain places that I'm just having trouble getting through on my own. Like, can you come over and drop in with me? He was like, yeah. And so we did. And what we saw was it was like a wall, not on my heart, but outside of my energy field, a wall. And we were both tuning in, like, who is guarding that? Because I feel open, I feel receptive, you know. And it was my 2-year-old, my 2-year-old. And immediately a memory popped up from when I was 2 years old and my parents were fighting. And I stepped in front of my mom, like to protect my mom from my dad as they were fighting in some way. And I was 2. I didn't know what was going on, but I felt it. And so that 2-year-old me was still in protection mode of protecting what I thought I needed to protect my mom from, protecting myself from whatever I thought my mom was experiencing. And it related to love and relationships. And that's not something that I was aware of. But that was once a boundary outside of my field of, you know, anger is unsafe. Well, I know that anger is not unsafe. Anger just needs to be channeled in a healthy way. But I could see how that part of me was still holding up a brick wall that was once a healthy boundary that's no longer relevant. It's no longer needed. And energetically, we tuned in, and that was the reason, one of the reasons why over the past couple of months or recently, I haven't really seen or met anyone that I'm attracted to. Anyone. And I live in Austin with a ton of beautiful, conscious men. You know what I mean? And I was like, there's something happening here because I was just noticing what was coming into my life and what wasn't. And so as soon as we let that wall down and I let that 2-year-old come back in and, you know, relieve her of that duty within like immediately, I started seeing, meeting, speaking to incredible men that I was attracted to. And so I could see the immediate shift that was able to happen by integrating that part of myself and letting go of the boundary that had become a wall that was no longer relevant. So I would look at that in your own life of where am I still inadvertently protecting myself in a way that's actually blocking me from connection that I desire. whether that's in relationships or business or clients. I see this across the board right now. And dude, I am just seeing connections and people in your life that it's almost like you have blinders on and you can't see them. But they're right there. People that have offered to support you that you've never taken them up on it. Either you don't feel worthy of it, or you don't know, or something, but it just looks like, you know, I see this in business and relationships right now. In relationships, it's like, okay, the love of your life actually knows your best friend type of energy, like they're actually right there. You just don't see it. And we've got to open up our mind, open up our perspective, and let go of some of these walls and boundaries and allow these unexpected dots to connect. I see it in business too, where the next phase of a lot of our businesses requires other people. It's not a solo game. Like, we have joint missions with other people, with other companies. There's soul contracts with clients, with collaborators, with friends, all of it. There's soul contracts. And new soul contracts are becoming relevant either because you've already fulfilled the contracts before to get you to this point, which is why we were letting go of people and places and things and business opportunities and revenue streams and products and services. We were clearing all of that out. Those contracts were ending. We were completing those contracts. And we're still in this completion of contracts, but now at the same time, we're also opening up new contracts. Soul contract meaning something that our soul agreed to before incarnating. It's a significant part of our life. It plays a significant role in our mission or our healing or our evolution in some way. And these new contracts are beginning, they're opening, they're becoming relevant. So what you are seeking is also seeking you. What you are here to create, others are here to help you create. It's not selfish to ask for support or to look for a way to elevate you or your life or your business. It's needed because someone else has that